Okay, well, welcome. It's week 5, and we should be, you should be, in the midst of your multimodal document work. And so the tasks for this week are relatively light. Um, you have, and so this is going to be a quick orientation. So you have number one, to finish the James G book and blog about it again. And so, just as before, you're trying to engage with those ideas and try to figure out how they work in your own learning. How do you do the idea in question or the learning principle in question? And again, this is all, this should be stuff that impacts your thinking about the multimodal document that you are working on. So that as you read G and he talks about some new idea about how video games structure the experience for the learner such that the learner more efficiently becomes a proficient user of the game, think about how those principles work or maybe don't work in your own experiences as a learner. So you're going to be blogging about that. I would suggest you get that done as quickly as you can, just because then you don't have to worry so much about having something else to do. Plus, you might want to use some of these ideas from the end of G's book in your multimodal document. So that brings us to the multimodal document. Last week I was asking you to draft that, create a rough cut, as it were. And so I'm hopeful that you are making your way and getting that down pretty well. I'm recording this slightly before the deadline for that, but I'm looking forward to reading in your weblogs what your reflections are about the process so far, and to hear about any frustrations and things that you might be experiencing with that process. So some of you have been sending me some things about what you're doing, and in some cases links to what you're doing, and so that's great. I did want to let you know that at this point I did open up some links on the WebCT homepage, whatever the course content page. There is a link there that says multimodal projects, and it says projects from previous years. And so there are some samples of what students have done in the past for this project. And I gave them to you at this point because I didn't want what students in the past have done to sort of dictate to you what you thought you had to be doing. But these should maybe be a little bit reassuring for you, seeing what people have done in the past. Some people have been a little stressed out about I don't have video, or I don't have this, or you don't have to. It's as simple as that. And many successful projects don't do that. They use still photos exclusively, and that works just fine. So those are links to past projects that may be helpful in your own sort of understanding of what it is that you're being expected to produce and how you might do that. So feel free to look through those. Those are just natively hosted on the university's Vista server. So it's not like YouTube where they're sort of streamlined and load up really fast and get going. These are probably going to be a little slower to play on your computers, but I can't really do anything about that. I don't own the rights to those, so I can have them on our secure WebCT site because no one else can get in and look at them. But the students who produce them would have to have put them onto YouTube or something like that for me to link to YouTube instead. So that's just a little word of warning about the length that it might take for you to download and view those. But again, I suggest you do that. Some of them are in different formats as well, so they may not all play in your browser. It just sort of depends. You never really know. Some people's computers do things certain ways and other people's do it in a different way. So I can't really make a promise about that, but you should be able to to make several of them play and give you a sense of of what it is that people have done in the past and how they've addressed these issues. Now, one of the things that that always comes up at this point, though, is, how directly do I have to refer to James G within my multimodal document? And the answer is it depends. It depends on who you see as your primary audience. So, if you are thinking that your audience, along with being, your classmates here in this class, might include other professional educators, then it seems like a direct reference to G would be really good. Even if it's not like professional educators, but simply to, an educated audience, then references to others. Whoops. Okay, so I'm back. Sorry about that. So what I was just saying was that, you want to tailor the level of specificity in terms of the references to G, or the direct references to G, to your audience. But even if you were making this thinking that this would be something you might show to your fourth graders eventually, or your kindergartners or whoever, even kids understand the notion of authority, and that there are experts who know certain things, and they lend credence to the things that we say. And so you might talk about James G in a different way, but you could still directly reference him. It's up to you, though. You need to sort of make that call yourself. What you will be expected to do, though, is you'll be expected to write a kind of debriefing blog entry, and you'll get the details about that later on. But a sort of debriefing blog entry that says, these are the kinds of things that I saw from G that I used in my multimodal document. So that even if you don't make those direct references within the multimodal document itself, you're doing that within a blog entry that does sort of cite the kinds of ideas that you're taking from G and how you're putting them to use. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. As I said, some people have been sending me some things already about their multimodal documents, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen so far. So, really cool stuff, really interesting things, and I'm hopeful that the models that you see and any other examples that I can get put up will help you to sort of lower your level of anxiety about the project, because it may be simpler than you're imagining it to be. But again, in those people who have been sending me things and to ask for feedback, etc., that's great. I appreciate that. Keep that happening, and I may be contacting you in turn to say, can I show this to other people in the class so that we get a better sense of the project. So the actual work that you're completing this week then and focusing your time and attention on is completing a final, and I'll use little scare quotes, final draft of the multimodal document. And that will be due on Sunday, which is March 2nd. So that's when you should aim to have that thing finished. If you're using a program like Windows Movie Maker or iMovie, you can then just create a movie file that you can upload to YouTube, which is what I would suggest is the easiest way to share with the rest of the class. But if you don't want to do that, you can also upload it to YouTube as a private video that you can just share with me so I can see it. Otherwise, we'll have to you'll have to either send me a CD with the document on it, or try sending it as a file. Although files, email files, generally, if they're over, say, 10 megabytes, end up crashing stuff. So it depends on how big your final product ends up being. So you'll have to look at that sort of stuff to see how you can get that file to me. So I'll put some resources on our page for how to transfer large files as well, because there are other ways that we can get those files from you to me. As always, let me know if you have issues or questions or things. Emailing me is always the best option for a quick reply. So I'll look forward to hearing from you.